I always like the thing where some people don't say action, you know.
Uh-huh.
I tend to say action,
Yeah.
but in a lot of movies, like I don't think Robert Altman said action. I think they just started.
Sam Fuller fired a gun.
He fired a gun.
Yeah.
So now would be when we would fire the gun.
Exactly. That was it.
This is the Criterion Collection edition of the Grand Budapest Hotel home video, or what do you call it? The Blu-ray,
Blu-ray.
Certainly. At least the
And
Blu-ray,
DVD.
but there'll probably be a DVD. I don't know if people still do DVDs, but Blu-ray is much better, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that you're watching this on Blu-ray. And we have with us, Mr. Roman Coppola. Roman?
I'm here in LA, joining you.
Alongside Mr. Jeff Goldblum.
Hello. I'm here with Roman.
Jeff Goldblum and Roman Coppola. Kent Jones beside me in New York.
How are you?
And I'm Wes Anderson, and we're going to do the commentary here. So now we just start saying things about the movie.
Well, you instructed us to interrupt everybody, create
Yes.
a cacophony of voices. So
That's a good way.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, one thing I could say here is this is a little shrine here, which is there's a little statue in Jardin de Luxembourg in Paris of Stefan Zweig, a beautiful little bust of him that's tucked away in a corner, and this I guess comes from that.
And the film is inspired by the writings of Stefan Zweig.
Exactly. The film is inspired by the writings of Stefan Zweig. I mean, maybe it's inspired by the movies of Ernst Lubitsch more than the writings of Stefan Zweig, but somehow, to me, it starts with Stefan Zweig.
Yeah.
Brings up his stories out of thin air. In point of fact,
And Wes, how did you get first exposed to Stefan Zweig? What was your introduction to him?
Well, I think years before I'd read a story called 24 Hours in the Life of a Woman, which I liked, but it was in a bookstore in Paris. It was a bookstore in Saint-Germain. I think it's Village Voice bookstore. And I picked up this book, Beware of Pity, his one real full novel. And I started reading it in the bookstore. And I think I stood there for 45 minutes before I went over and paid for it and took it away. And
Yes.
it's a great novel.
Yeah.
But
Which was made into a film.
Yeah, I mean, a number of them have been adapted.
Yeah.
Letter
from an Unknown Woman.
from an Unknown Woman. The Burning Secret was adapted a couple of times.
Andrew Birkin.
Birkin, yes,
directed that.
yes, Jane Birkin's brother, right? I haven't been watching the film while we've been talking, though.
Well, actually, I wanted to ask you about the boy, though.
The
Who
boy,
interrupts Tom
Yes.
Wilkinson.
yes, the boy. This movie was shot in a place called Görlitz in Saxony.
Yeah.
In fact, the town is split in two. There's the Görlitz part, and then there's the Polish part.
Yes.
And there's a river that goes down the middle of the town. And anyway, most of the extras and people are from Görlitz, and as is that boy.
Although I do not believe any
But we would sometimes, Jeff, I don't know, did you remember going over to or Roman? Did we go over to Poland for dinner ever?
and on board the colonel.
Yeah,
We did. We crossed the river and went with Pavel, and who could help us order the food there.
Yes.
Yeah, and I remember one time we did it. I don't think, were you there, Roman? Not the time I was there. No, I went in a little group with Ed Norton, I remember,
Yes.
and Jason.
Right.
And that was, did you always go to the same place? Because that was a great little indigenous, exotic kind of place, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And yes, our sound man Pavel often went with us, but who's Polish. Although Pavel's now retired, but he was doing that movie. You walk across the bridge and
Crossing the Polish frontier.
and then a little place right along the facing the river, and where the menu is different. Suddenly you're eating rabbit and goose and things that they weren't serving back in Germany. On one side of the river you're eating sausages, and the other side you're eating rabbit.
Yeah.
And you're paying in zlotys or something like that. What's the Polish currency? Is it a zloty?
Yeah.
And it's a much better deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a Klubek, but it's something similar.
It's a Klubek.
It's inspired by Klubek.
That's an agent.
Yes, it's true. Well, here now, if we want to be in sync with the movie for a moment, we've just met Murray Abraham and Jason Schwartzman, Jude Law,
And we're back 2 time frames.
and we're back 2 time frames. Yes.
I was just going to say that in preparation for whatever I thought this was going to be, I wasn't sure what we were going to do today. I saw the movie a few days ago, and this is just the tip of the iceberg of my interest and excitement about it, because I'd never seen it at home before, and it was lovely being able to stop, which I did many, many times, and pause to look around the whole frame, which is fun to do at every frame. And I read it, too. I like subtitles, so I was reading along with it, so I could see the lovely literature that it was too. Anyway, well, at another time we'll go through it maybe even more fine-tooth combedly, and I'll exhaust all my curiosity and excitement about it.
Well, I haven't seen this movie in quite a long time, but I'm not really getting a good glimpse of it because I keep looking around the room here and talking to everybody else. Now, this dog, I remember walking in the street and seeing this St. Bernard while we were scouting in Görlitz. We've got a St. Bernard in the script.
I want you for my movie?
Yeah, let's make note. And we got the information. And then the owner was there, and we said, we'll get some lederhosen for this guy. And then you don't have, I don't know if it's good to say this, but if you have the owner, you don't have to have an animal wrangler.
Yeah.
The animal wrangler is the person. So that's just a little tidbit. But I hope that's legal. I believe it is. In Germany, anyway.
I beg your pardon.
Jude Law.
Yep.
I can provide one little bit of information here. We searched for a spa with a swimming pool, this kind of thermal spa.
Yeah.
And there was one. It was old ones in different regions, and we looked at one in Budapest, and we looked at several in Czech Republic. But I was like, do we really want to have to set aside to travel to this place, to do this, to do the scene? How are we going to do it? And then one day, while we were working on the pre-production of the movie, I just happened to see these 2 high brick smokestacks about 300 meters from our main location. And I thought, what is that? And we went over on golf carts. We had many golf carts that we used to travel around Görlitz, and we found an abandoned thermal spa with swimming pools, and even we actually ordered a blue bathtub we borrowed one from Budapest where we had seen these tubs, but we found an identical one upstairs in Görlitz. So one of them is when we got, one is from there. We had
an abandoned thermal spa. How much work did you have to do to bring it back to kind of?
We painted it as you see it, and we had to make the swimming pool. We had to fill it and make it watertight, things like that. But the bones of it were all there, which goes a long way. For what that's worth. Is this the sort of thing people say in these commentary tracks?
Yeah, we're getting the okay from the producer. So, so far so good.
Provide a sample time. If recommends promptly.
By all means.
This place was built by the Nazis. This was the Stadthalle of this town of Görlitz, and this place was. There were photographs of it with swastikas and everything all over it. That's a bit of the aura that is there. That the big mural is inspired by we did these things that are inspired by Caspar David Friedrich, the painter, and we made a big giant one. So now we jump back in time again.
And you're shifting aspect ratios.
Yes, we changed the aspect ratio from the we use the anamorphic lenses with some old Hook anamorphic lenses, and then we switched to now we're in I guess we say Academy ratio.
Right there.
I remember when you were preparing the movie, you wrote to me and you asked me about European movies set in hotels.
Yes. That's right.
Whether there was anything that you had, like I think we were talking about Hotel Imperial.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
You sent me some, and I believe you asked Marty for his list of, which wasn't just hotel ones, it was Middle Europa cinema.
Budapest.
And
American interpretations of Europe.
Yes, I think maybe even one of them was The Mortal Storm. On Marty's list, I think, might have been The Mortal Storm.
Which is a film that means a lot, that came to mean a lot to you.
It came to mean a lot to me because this is a movie with James Stewart,
Margaret Sullivan, and Frank Morgan. Mm-hmm. And Margaret Sullivan's character, my daughter is named after Margaret Sullivan's character. Mm-hmm. Yes, but it's a great, but Frank Borzage movie. Yeah, great film.
Yes. Now we have here three important actors in the cast. Ralph Fiennes, who is someone who I've known for a number of years, and I've always loved Ralph in movies, and I'd seen him on the stage too. And this part was written for Ralph, he, I don't know who else in the world would play this part.
Yeah, it's difficult to imagine someone else playing this part.
Yes, Ralph owns this part. We have Tilda Swinton, who we've had in a few of other movies already, and is Tilda Swinton had only been in Moonrise Kingdom.
She was in Moonrise Kingdom. Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Subsequently, we've had her in at least 2 more movies.
She's in the new one.
Yes.
Yep.
And Tony Revolori, who we searched all over the world to find someone to play this character. I thought probably we're going to find him in North Africa. We're going to find him in the Middle East. We particularly focus on Lebanon because my wife is from Lebanon, but he's actually he's American. Yes. His family is Guatemalan, but he's where we found Tony Revolori is Anaheim.
Yeah. And how old is he?
Tony was, do you remember, Jeff? Tony's 17 or something?
Something like that.
I think 17, maybe. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, I've never heard of you, never laid eyes on you. Who hired you?
Mr. Mosher, sir.
Mr. Mosher?
Yes, Monsieur Gustave.
Now that's Larry Pine.
Larry Pine.
Yes, Larry Pine, who we've had in other movies and who's worked with Andre Gregory and Wally Shawn.
He's in Von Down 42nd Street.
Yes,
as the doctor.
He's often a doctor in Chekhov.
Yes.
Yes. I feel like I saw him in the Central Park. Maybe in Mike Nichols. Mike Nichols did Seagull. The Seagull.
Oh, the all-star version of the Seagull.
Yes.
With Christopher Walken.
Oh, yeah. Was Larry Pine in it, or was Walken playing was Doctor?
I don't know.
Walken in the Doctor?
I don't know.
Oh well.
And he's in Jimmy P.
He's in Jimmy P.
Yeah.
Arnaud Desplechin's film.
Yeah.
I studied reading and spelling. I started my primary school. I almost finished.
Education, 0.
Now it's exploded.
Morning, Cicero. Call the goddamn plumber.
And we're in Babelsberg. This is all. The hotel was all. The main lobby of the hotel was a build.
No, actually, the hotel is we made in a department store in Görlitz. The thing that actually drew us to this town of Görlitz was this empty department store.
Yeah.
Where we, which had this big atrium, and the only thing it didn't have is the walls that are inside that have the rooms. Mm-hmm. So we built the rooms around it, and then we built and then in fact, because we go to another period of time. We built the old hotel, and then inside of it, we built the lobby of the kind of communist period hotel.
Yeah, the decaying period that we just saw.
Yes.
You like to camp out in particular places and build your film out of the real places.
Yes,
right?
I do. I do. Jeff and Roman, we all worked together in Italy years ago
on the Life Aquatic. And and it was a very exciting. I mean, you guys can comment on this, but we had a lot of fun there. But the way it worked when we did that film was we shot at Cinecittà and we shot at sea, and then everyone went to their apartments and hotels, all sorts of different places all around Rome, and went to the dinners and to things like. And I found that was not that was fun for for a week. But then when it came to, are we getting our work done, or are we able to be, would prefer to be doing a movie where we live in it. Like Jeff, for instance, you don't particularly leave the set. Jeff, I know you like to stay in the moment, in the scene while it's happening. And
especially on your set, it's fun to be, around you and the shooting and see everything that's going on. But I remember that it was different. We were spread out, and we had big trailers. There were a bunch of big trailers when we were shooting. In contrast to Grand Budapest, where we were at that hotel, and it seems in my memory that everything was within walking distance that we were shooting from the hotel, and we would hang out at the hotel a little bit. But then when we were ready, we'd mostly hang out, in this department store.
In the lobby of the hotel.
Kind of hang out.
Yes.
Yeah, in the lobby of the hotel. It was all very kind of cozy, and we were ready to, Johnny on the spot,
Exactly. And both Jeff and Roman, sorry, Roman, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say how after Life Aquatic, we did Darjeeling Limited and traveled by train, and we stayed in that one a particular hotel, and I think that was the beginning of this, the appeal of having the team all being living together, traveling together, eating together, which has continued on since then.
I was going to say both Jeff and Roman. We've had an effect on how we made this movie, Grand Budapest Hotel, because Jeff, you and Willem. Both. I saw that you would stay on the set, and you were always kind of watching what's going on. And by the time we got to where we're going to figure out what we're doing next, you already always know everything. You've seen anything that would be happening while other people might be off in a trailer. And on Life Aquatic, there were like 11 of them, starting then, I thought, I want everybody to stay on the set all the time now, as much as we possibly can. And if there's a place to go, it needs to be within range that I can shout to it. If there's some chairs and a thing behind a screen or a green room or something, it can't be too far that we can't just shout to it. When we did Darjeeling Limited, as Roman was talking about, Roman in particular had some thoughts such as, let's have everyone do their makeup themselves like a play. Everyone can be responsible for their makeup. In fact, we had then, of course, we wrote a script where there are different makeup. I mean, Owen Wilson's face has been damaged by a motorcycle accident. He's covered with bandages, and we needed some makeup. In fact, when we have a great makeup artist, Francis Hannon, who was with us, but nevertheless, it was part of a new system where we say we're going to keep everything very contained, and especially this thing where we started all living together when we do the movie, and we have someone's going to cook for us, and when we finish the shooting day, we're all going to go to the same place, and at the end of the movie, everybody can go off where they would like to go again. But during the movie, let's just stay in this little bubble until we finish the thing. And I have to say, that's not only has that been so wildly more efficient for us and in so many different ways, but I find it to be a more fun way to make a movie.
And I need you to help me with my bags and so on.
So you're creating a situation around the movie in which an atmosphere and a community.
Yeah, but not by design, really. Really, right. My thing is just let's try to keep this simple and also, well,
keep the pretentiousness out of it with all the trailers
the trailers is a complete disaster because as soon as one person goes into a trailer, what you have is we need everybody now, and then the one person says, "Did so and so leave their trailer yet?" No. Oh, well, let me know when he leaves. And that person is saying, did so-and-so leave his? Yeah. And the next thing you know, there's a
standoff.
Well, it depends on what the vibe is, but it's much better if you have people who just are right there.
Yeah. For your old friend, but one never knows.
And delightful to hang out with and see what you're doing and with the other actors, come on, in a movie like this, delightful.
We had so many great people to be around here. But, also, by the way, with this scene here, a couple of funny things. We could talk about, the shot where they come driving up on the train there, where we're looking through the window, is shot on a little section of window and chairs that are on a dolly out in this snowy place. Then in the wider shot, we have front projection that we've shot in this auditorium that we're using as a soundstage. Front projection based on which inspired by 2001. Yeah, using this old technique of front projection, which is not
but you get a much better image, a much clearer image, right?
Yeah, Kubrick certainly did.
Yes.
I don't know if we accomplished the same things.
What is the basis for Ralph Fiennes' character, the inspiration?
In part, I think we can say this. Our friend Robin, who is a very old friend now for many years, he talks like this. And there's certain aspects of this character that are him. And if Robin wished to be a hotel concierge, he would be the best one ever, because he does know every hotel concierge. He if you are with him at any hotel, he will immediately begin to talk with the people there and quickly is on first name basis with them, calls them darling, and sort of seduces anyone. But there are many different aspects of this character that come from Robin in turns of phrase. Now here's the entrance of Mr. Edward Norton, who will join us here.
As a soul of civility.
Yes.
What's the problem?
This is outrageous. The young man works for me at the Grand Budapest Hotel in Naples, Pat.
Monsieur Gustave? My name is Henkels.
Yeah, the politics of this movie work. I had to kind of puzzle through. I hope it all makes sense, because I think I think right now we're at a period where it's sort of like we're not to the SS yet somehow.
Between the wars.
Yeah, we're between the wars, but there's a climate that is changing. But the uniforms are gray. In the later scene, the uniforms are going to go black, and we're going to be more like we're going to have entered into a more committed fascism.
Take this. It's temporary, but it's the best I can offer.
Right now, you could still have free and unmolested travel if you have the right documentation.
You mentioned Lubitsch before, and which Lubitsch films in particular were on your mind, like Trouble in Paradise and?
Well, I mean, certainly we had a bit of
Living.
Yeah. I mean, Trouble in Paradise, one of my favorites, but and also Shop Around the Corner. Those, yes. I feel like those movies probably I'm always kind of have in mind somehow with if it has any relevance. But I guess To Be or Not to Be also would be a key one with this. And then I think
Brown.
Well, I also think Lubitsch. Just as a voice, not even kind of the body of the work, but Lubitsch as a Middle European voice of cinema, and I don't really know the silent Lubitsch films. A few of them. What's the what is the one?
The Marriage Circle. It's a doll. I mean, he made so many.
Yes.
Anne Boleyn.
Well, you know what else we think of is the musicals.
Yes.
Mary Widow. Yes. Those I think probably have some application to this.
Monte Carlo.
Yes, Monte Carlo, the Maurice Chevalier.
Yes.
Jeanette MacDonald. Is that who it is?
In Mary Widow. Yeah.
Mary Widow, yeah.
There's Léa Seydoux.
There's Léa Seydoux, and this place, Schloss, well, we call it Schloss Lutz. This we shot, I believe it was called Schloss Waldheim. This was not in Görlitz. This was another location where we filmed this.
Nearby?
It's in Saxony.
Okay.
But it's on the other side of Dresden. So if I think 4 hours or something like that. But we didn't go away from Görlitz much. We went. There's a place that they call Saxony Schweiz.
Yes.
Which is a kind of incredible cliffs and bridges over some. I'm sure it's from the 19th century when people would go and stay for a season. They'd go for the summer or something like that, and breathe the air and go for walks for some months and live in a hotel.
Yeah.
And at this place, it was built these bridges for walking up high in these on these, I don't know what they're cliffs, but they're almost like they're these tall rock, 300, 400, 500 foot high, kind of almost like pillars. But we see them at the end of the film in the at the beginning. There's a sort of simulation of them in miniature, and at the end we shoot this wedding at that location.
But eventually I came to recognize, when the destiny of a great fortune is at stake, men's greed spreads like a poison in the bloodstream. Uncles, nephews, cousins, in-laws of increasingly tenuous connection.
Jeff is going to reappear here
for the reading of the will.
For the reading of the will.
There's Mathieu Marique.
Mathieu Marique, and here we're going to pan over. There he is. Double take.
Yeah, the first appearance is very brief.
Yeah, the first appearance is brief. Introduces the character. He's Vilmos Kovacs, named, I think, after two cinematographers.
Vilmos Zsigmond and Laszlo Kovacs.
Yeah.
This is Madame D's last will and testament. It consists of a general tontine drawn up before the event of her husband's death 46 years ago.
Yes, now this is a special thing, because Jeff is someone who is not every actor in the cinema is able to be handed paragraphs and to sculpt them and shape them. It's, you know, when you're going on the stage, if you're used to going on the stage, which Jeff is used to going on the stage too, but when you call on someone to take a thing like this, bring the whole thing to life, I have noticed the preparation that Jeff sometimes takes the form of I hear Jeff doing the scene over and over and over and over and over and over. It's becoming like music, because Jeff is a musician as well. I say this in front of Jeff, but am I wrong, Jeff? There could be a musical correlation in the process of just how you kind of get the lines into your system, and so that then when you're doing them, you're not thinking about the lines. Do I have any of that right?
Yeah, you sure do. Yes. Of course, it's a case-by-case basis. Sometimes, not in this case, but I like to improvise and this and that. But this is different. This is different. You're, of course, the document and your writing is meticulous and brilliant, and I'm nothing if not conscientious. And in the time leading up to this, because I had a while, I would do it a lot. I worked on it a lot. Yes, there's a musical kind of, for me, some kind of, shape that it can take, and it can be informed by sort of my sense of musicality. But I remember, I think this is maybe interesting and noteworthy. I had, after all that work, I came, and on this day where we were shooting, remember we did a bunch of takes, but when we started, I did it through, and you said, you're changing, I think it was a thee to an and, or an and to a thee. And I said, yes, I know. I've done that not without thought, and here's my reasoning. And I gave you the whole idea. And you said, well, that's fine, but I'd rather you do it the way it is. And I said, good, let's do that. And then we did that. But as I've said before, within this sort of, very particular way that you wanted me to do it, it felt very delicious and free and kind of internally improvisational and like that. But music too.
It could be good to me. I see that Jeff is speaking primarily in like some legalese mumbo jumbo.
Yes.
Questionably accurate legal language, and he does it with so much suspense and drama.
Yes.
And he's pulling this whole room of people into it, and that's what I love about it. That's what, there's no scene if he doesn't make it drama.
Yeah.
But I do remember another line change you had, Jeff. You said in a later scene you said, I think there should be an ostensibly added to this.
Oh.
And I said, well, now why?
I remember that.
Because I don't know this fact, and it was actually proven, or this is correct, and it was a logic thing. I was like, oh, yes, you're right. Yes, the proper, yes, that would be the proper thing. So we added an ostensibly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thanks. Hey, thanks. And remember, I don't think everybody did this, but remember how we rehearsed. Remember I kind of cornered you that that day at the hotel months before as you were preparing, and I was coming through town for something else,
and things.
And I thought, hey, fitting. And I thought, let's go through this. So I did my whole performance such as it was at that time. And you, sure enough, had things to say. So I felt like I was, could have been in the right ballpark. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yes. I do. I remember it very well. Because in fact, that hotel where we filmed it's the Hotel Bursa in the middle of Görlitz, and it was the center of everything for us. When we first scouted the place, I saw this location where we made the hotel and thought, well, that could work. What can we build around here? And the first thing we did after that was we walked through the town and went to all the hotels. And we found this place, Bursa, and I said, this could be a makeup area. And this is big enough for us to have our dinner each night here. And there's this many rooms, but they have some other rooms across the street. And a lot of things like that happened in that hotel. I mean, that's where we had our first rehearsal with Deputy Vilmos Kovacs.
That's right. And that's where that stack of all the movies that you guys have been talking about were, many of which I hadn't seen, and all of which I caught up with, during the shooting.
Yes.
All the Lubitsch films and Shopwreck Corner. And,
Billy Wilder and then also I feel like there were Hitchcock. And there is one sequence.
Yes.
In fact, when Jeff, we'll talk about that when we get to it.
The museum.
Jeff has a sequence that is so blatantly.
Well, I asked you once at a public thing, is this an homage to Torn Curtain? And you said an homage isn't quite the right word. I'd call it out and out plagiarism.
Yes.
Yeah.
That sounds.
Did you see the Bergman movie, The Silence? How about The Silence?
Oh, The Silence.
Exactly. The Silence was definitely one. Silence is interesting because, The Silence does something we try to do here too, which is we're making a fictional Middle European country.
Yeah.
We're inventing.
They have a fictional language.
They have a fictional language too. Yes, that's right. They have they create a sort of local gibberish.
Yeah.
That sounds very good.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now this painting, Boy with Apple, was painted by a painter, English painter named Michael Taylor. And I had seen some of his portraits at the National Portrait Gallery in London. And I thought, he has a sort of style that is not really, we're kind of going for something, I would say, Flemish. I don't know what it is exactly, but I'm thinking of Holbein.
Yeah.
And his way is not like that. He has something more modern. He sort of has a bit of. It's something like early Lucian Freud, and it has a feeling sometimes of being sort of through a wider angle lens, which we've seen in some older paintings. So I'm not
Self-Portrait in a Convex Mirror by Parmigianino.
Exactly.
It kind of has.
That's exactly what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Which is in Vienna. I think.
Yes, I think you're right.
But he has such an interesting voice as a painter that with this painting, there's an aspect to it where it's not exactly a period painting, but he brought so much detail that is like Holbein and the way he did the furs and the velvet. And we cast a boy. His name is Ed Monroe. Who sat for him.
Yes.
And the whole painting was done. Milena Canonero made a costume for him, and the boy sat for him. And anyway, he's a wonderful painter.
Draw it up right now.
And where's the painting now?
The painting is behind the chair that you usually sit in my office in England.
There's only one of them?
There's only one of them. But there were some reproductions because we actually had to make some where you could tear it open and it would reveal this bit of an apple in the right place.
Yeah.
So there's a fake that is used to be repositioned within the thing because it would, and also to be smaller. In some scenes, Saoirse Ronan is carrying this painting around, and we thought, let's give her a littler one.
Apropos of nothing. I just rewatched Bob, Carol, Ted, and Alice and showed Emily, my wife. Boy, that's something. Yeah.
Bob and Carol, Ted, and Alice I saw recently again too. I think it's very good. I mean, Mazursky. I love.
So is Bloom in Love.
So is Bloom in Love. There's a new one. Yeah,
that's great.
Gosh, so many good ones. Unmarried Woman.
Yeah,
really. Oh, that's a great one.
And the one that he wrote, I Love You, Alice B. Toklas.
Yeah, I did. Next Stop, Greenwich Village.
Oh my
right.
gosh!
Oh
yeah.
man,
that's a great one.
That's a beautiful film.
Yeah,
1975. Yeah, Ellen Green. That's where I met Shelley Winters, and we became kind of pals after that in the mid 70s.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Shelley Winters.
Christopher Walken. Lenny Baker. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lenny Baker, Ellen Green.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. That is one of the best Mazurskis, isn't it? Is that, and that's his story, right? That's his. That's
Yes.
Yeah.
Ostensibly.
Yeah.
Let's keep the ostensibly in.
Yeah, keep it in. Also Shelley Winters. Fine-tooth comedly.
Ostensibility. Yeah.
Shelley Winters in The Tenant also.
Oh,
is
yeah.
that same period.
Yeah.
She's great in The Tenant.
Yeah.
She's the guardian of the building.
Yeah. I remember her on The Tonight Show one night talking to Johnny Carson and saying, "Remember that time, Johnny, when you and I were at that party and, we went into that room?"
Truly.
Yeah, and she said you were in between Joanne's or Joanna's.
Oh wow!
Because all his wives were named Joanna.
And is it true?
I think we're going to have to cut to a commercial now, and she just would not.
And he was a bit embarrassed, but
he was extremely embarrassed? Yeah,
but he was sort of okay with it.
No, he wasn't okay.
He wasn't okay with it at all.
No,
It's like this is private.
not at all. Yeah,
but so it's really true.
Yeah,
at least.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
She was wonderful, Shelley Winters. She's the first person who took me to Musso and Frank's. We went to Musso and Frank's, and it was just me and her and Farley Granger.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Yeah.
And so what?
How about that?
So what's that? Is that's a lively dinner at Musso and Frank's, in a booth at Musso and Frank's?
It was in one of those booths, and was it dinner or lunch? Maybe it was dinner. Yeah, it was lively. I was a kid. I was just kind of awestruck with the whole thing, although it wasn't the days of IMDb, and I don't think I knew who Farley Granger was or had seen any of his movies. And but I'd seen Patch of Blue with my family when it came out in the 60s, so Shelley Winters. But I remember, I shouldn't tell this story either, but at one point she sort of leaned to one side and loudly broke wind and didn't say a thing about it, nor did Farley. And I thought, gee, is this the way adult behavior goes? It's just all right around these parts. And at a certain age, I've realized otherwise since, of course, it was an
the actor's studio training.
That's a custom at Musso and Frank. I think that's what's.
That's a custom. Yeah, they're insulted if you don't. They think it's you didn't enjoy the dinner.
That's right.
Entered by the
Anyway,
inviting no one to his presence, and then proceed by way of backstairs and servant's passage to deliver himself into the private chambers of Madame.
And am I only being lighted by candlelight?
Yes, that's right.
It looks like I'm in Barry Lyndon all of a sudden.
That's right. This scene was shot in the Ratskeller, which is the former saloon in the basement of the city hall, adjacent to our hotel. And we went in there and we did some tests to figure out how we do it so that we would not have to put any lighting equipment in there at all. And we'd do it only with the candles like Barry Lyndon. Mm-hmm. And we had some of these double wick candles and so on. But then on the day that we did it, I got there and the electrical department had rigged up the whole place and put out and then tapped into the wire. They had the whole thing, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, well, this, all we need is candles. We're only using candles. Yeah. I was upset because I thought we had done such an interesting thing of made it so that we were just the most streamlined little unit. But then
that reminds me of being in India when we had that firelight scene. And it was another similar situation where you wanted to do it all by campfire.
Yes, exactly.
They brought the generators and cables and so on. So that's a reoccurring thing.
It's a reoccurring thing where you try to get it, and then they say, yes, but just in case you wanted it, we've got 14 trucks over here. The idea wasn't to have it. The idea was to make that decision in advance.
Yeah.
Here's Willem. He has a very good costume, I will say.
I'm looking for Sergex, a young man in the service of my employer, the family des Gothland taxis of Schloss Lutz.
I'm just curious about, so in a lot of these scenes, that snow, is that on set an effect, or is that later snow?
Well, I think that in Germany, we found that some of the devices for the making of snow
are from an earlier generation. Some things that I feel possibly might have been methods that might have been discontinued in America for health reasons, for threat to health reasons, because they had something they call, I don't know if they do, I mean, tell me, Jeff or Roman, if these are still used in America, snow candles?
Snow candles?
I don't know. I've
never seen one in the U.S., but we use them in Europe.
We've used them in Europe.
Things have changed.
Yeah, because, well, what you do is you light this snow candle, and then they swing them in the air, and they fill the air with basically ash. So many of these scenes, we would say, okay, just light a few snow candles, and they swing them around, and then they bring them in, and in between takes these, even while we're still rolling, somebody runs through swinging snow candles, and they're kind of great. But I'm sure that we shouldn't be breathing them.
Yeah, it could be unhealthy. Remember when they used to use that thing called bee smoke? What was bee smoke that they don't use anymore?
What is bee smoke?
I remember those little pins. It was like a bee smoker is like a little device that you use to smoke out bees when you get the honey.
Oh, is that?
And
smoke up a room.
Little pellets that they would put in that pump. And sure, I remember.
Smells particular. Yeah. We were shooting Right Stuff, and Caleb Deschanel smoked it up with that bee smoke all the time.
Philip Kaufman. That's wonderful.
Philip Kaufman.
So Philip Kaufman, you did two Philip Kaufmans.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers and Right Stuff. Yeah. He's a very interesting filmmaker. Yeah. Bay Area.
Yeah.
Did you grow up knowing him?
He's up there.
I did and do. I saw him recently at the celebration of Zotro's 50th anniversary, and he's a wonderful man, and
sure is.
Know his family. And I remember as a kid when he was shooting Invasion of the Body Snatchers, my mom in our garden there was this huge zucchini, and she said, "Oh, I have to save this and give it to Phil Kaufman because it looked like one of the pod creatures." So that's an early memory.
That's funny.
Wasn't Phil Kaufman going to make a fictional film about Nicholas Ray?
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Is he working, Roman?
He's an active person. I don't know what he's doing at this moment, but I bet he's cooking something up.
I wonder if he's going to do his Nicholas Ray movie.
Yeah, I don't know. This is Quills was the last one, right?
Quills with Jeffrey
Rush.
Yes.
Who is this man?
This man, we were scouting locations, and we were at a brewery, and at the breweries, at the end of the day in Germany, at least in this part of Germany, people can go directly to the brewery and they serve beer at the entrance to the brewery. They have a little thing. They have the beer coming in right then. And that guy, the big guy there, was drinking beer at the brewery.
Rise and shine, chop, chop.
So these three convicts we see here, they're each interesting. Florian is a great actor who's done, I think, quite a number of kind of adventure movies, climbing and a range of different kinds of movies. Zach had a very well-known television show in Germany, and he's more of a comic presence on television, but I think also acts in all kinds of different ways. And Karl Markovics, he is a Viennese actor, but also filmmaker, and Harvey Keitel, in order to bond with them, asked that they all live with him for a brief period of time in this prison. This prison was a communist era, or actually maybe earlier than the communist period, but it had been really done up.
Thank you, Wolf.
When it was East Berlin, this place was quite transformed, and there are all kinds of different surveillance things in that prison for mechanical ways of observing prisoners in their cells.
You got 72 guards on the floor and 60 more in the tower.
I think was there even a museum in that prison that had some examples of the bugs and other devices and stuff? Have that?
That's right. There was like a kind of makeshift museum in one part of the building. But what they didn't have in the building was heat. Remember, and so they stayed for 2 nights there, and they sort of camped inside that prison, and they slept in that prison. And in fact, it was great. These actors were completely. Harvey was the one who said, "We need to do this." They all immediately agreed, and I think they really loved being there with Harvey. And Harvey wanted to bond with these guys, even though their relationship in the movie is not particularly developed. He did that, and I've always Harvey will sometimes ask for something that is quite beyond the film, and I'm always sure to make sure everyone knows. He doesn't even have to finish the sentence; just say yes, because everything he's going to do is coming from the point of view of a completely committed actor who wants to play with it, and it always brings something into it, and it's always it always adds something to the film.
At this point in the story, the old man fell silent and pushed away his saddle of lamb. His eyes went blank as two stones. I could see he was in distress.
Are you ill, Mr. Mustafa?
I finally asked.
Oh, dear me, no,
he said.
It's only that I don't know how to proceed.
He was crying.
Are those real tears coursing down his cheeks, or are those cosmetic tears?
Those were mostly real tears. I do know we were trying to do a thing where he would cry and then wipe away the tears, and then we'd cut back and he'd instantly be crying again.
On our third formal...
We haven't really talked about Saoirse. She's such a lovely performer and presence in the movie.
Saoirse, we love Saoirse.
She was striking. How old was she when we did this? Not that much older than Tony, right? Like 18 or 19 or something.
I think Saoirse was maybe 18.
Yeah.
Or so. Maybe a year older than Tony, 19, maybe something like that.
Amazing. Yeah, she always seemed to be there. She was there with her mom, remember? Whenever we'd seem to be down there eating and da-da-da-da-da.
Yes.
But I thought she was so striking, and maybe it's from this idea that she was so strikingly confident.
Yes.
She was so self-possessed, it seemed to me. I always felt around her like I was, 11 or 15. She's much more self-possessed than I was.
She's grounded, I think.
With respect, adoration, admiration, kisses, gratitude, best wishes, and love.
Saoirse is interesting because she's one of these people who's supremely talented, but also started doing it professionally very, very young. It's a different form of virtuosity from the one who's great but wasn't doing it for a living from childhood. They have something unique. And she's also, her ear is something special because, she can just do any kind of accent.
She also has the face of a silent film heroine. I mean, she really holds the screen.
She certainly does.
Yeah.
Is he flirting with you?
I think she's very comfortable working, and I think maybe it's to this thing where you're that age and you go into a new situation the way you have to go into a situation, meet everybody and start the thing. But from childhood, she knows what it's like to be new, and I know how I'm going to connect with this group and form these bonds. But, also, of course, we've had Saoirse on other films too. Saoirse's
she's in French Dispatch.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to call out this shot, by the way. This is probably my favorite shot that I was involved with.
Roman did this shot. He was involved in that. He did this shot. Yes.
The two Romans.
Yes.
That's the other Roman.
This is Roman. Yes. That's Roman who is on set props and set decorating. And we worked also with Till. Roman and Till then became part of our ongoing company. I mean, some people work with us on one movie, they come on to the next one. So those are Roman and Till are two Germans who have stayed on with us.
Magistrate's ultimate decision vis-a-vis your own inheritance, but especially given the circumstances of death.
Jeff, do you remember this was the mayor's office?
Right, and this is the first day of shooting that I had. This is the very first thing that we did together on
is
this,
it?
Right?
Yeah, that sounds
I think
right.
So, yep.
Impropriety at any future date. Agreed? Agreed.
All these books are from the archives below the mayor's office, the city archives, these ancient records.
Oh.
And you're in the mayor's.
He was there, the mayor. Didn't we meet the mayor?
Yes,
that
we
day?
did. Yes, we did. Well, we were shooting in his office.
Yeah, I remember. Point of fact, I'm the executor.
Was that mustache something you grew, especially for the production?
Well, Wes did it. You can talk more about it, Wes, but he had all of us grow everything galore until we were there, and then we did some manicuring. Wes was very involved with several stages of clipping a hair there and a hair there and getting it to this topiary that you see now.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have certainly the maximum supply of mustaches in this film. Even Tony has one that he just draws on with a grease pencil.
Yeah.
These three sisters were quite good too. That's Jeremy Dawson down there, our producer.
Very artful fellow in his own right.
Yes. Now here was interesting. This later we found that there was a tunnel underneath the prison. So in a later shot, they dig through and then we go into a real tunnel that's underneath the cell. Also across from our hotel, there are these labyrinthine attics that wind around in the tops of these very old buildings from the 16th century, 17th century. And we created where she lives out of some area up there. So we had to climb up ladders and work our way through the place. And then we had this curtained room. What's it called? What's the German for deer?
Deal art.
So I asked Saoirse to play this character called Agatha, and Saoirse said, well, what accent do I speak in? And I said, well, Rafe is speaking like an English person, and Jeff is speaking like Jeff Goldblum. Tony is speaking in the accent of Anaheim,
Orange County,
and we have German actors who are speaking with German accents, and so I guess Irish. And Saoirse said, I've never played Irish. Saoirse is Irish, but she had never actually...
Oh, that was before Brooklyn?
It was before Brooklyn, and Saoirse had never played a part in her own accent. So her first time is when she's playing a bakery girl from Zubrovka.
How'd you get that? That's somebody else? That's not Tony, I'll bet.
That was done in 2 rounds. That was done in 2 rounds, I think. We had a foreground thing and a background thing. But Jeff, remember, this is in that big Stadthalle that I said was where sort of Nazi period auditorium where we have the dining room there. This is the entrance of that place. This lobby. This was just shot right out there. If anybody cares where it was shot, and this is where we begin this sequence that is sort of
the homage.
Yes,
to Torn Curtain.
The homage to Torn Curtain. Yep. Where we're following Paul Newman.
Yeah.
I want to go back to Phil Kaufman in a moment, but before we do, because I want to talk about this movie, the White Dawn.
The White Dawn with Warren Oates.
With Warren Oates and Lou Gossett Jr. and Timothy
Bottoms. Yeah.
Michael Chapman shot it. I think, Jeff, did Michael Chapman not shoot Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
He did, right?
Yes, he did. He
did.
Done Raging Bull, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, he was very interesting.
He's a great cinematographer. Yeah.
And he was an operator, I believe, on The Godfather, I think.
He was an operator on The Godfather. He was one of Gordon Willis's. He was sort of a, would you say protege of Gordon Willis, maybe?
I guess so, yeah.
He shot Taxi Driver as well.
He shot Taxi Driver. He shot Last Detail. And he operated on Jaws.
Yeah.
Because remember, in Visions of Light, he says, and I must say it was a very well-operated film. One of the best operated films ever made.
And he was the chief cameraman on Last Waltz.
Ah, yes.
With all those great DPs.
Yeah.
Operator.
Chapman. He gave me a copy of Das Kapital on the set of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I took it home to Pittsburgh. My dad, who was still alive then, went, "What's this? Why do you have this?"
That's funny. Yes, wasn't he? He was
committed Marxist.
He went to Columbia, I think, didn't he? He was like a student activist, maybe, or anyway.
And directed Plan of the Cave Bear.
Right, and All the Right Moves.
Right, that's right.
With Tom
Cruise.
Yeah.
I could just chop my fingers off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I was thinking about this scene the other day because I'm always telling my kids, my 4-year-old and 2-year-old, watch your fingers when you're closing doors, and don't play with doors. Don't be slamming doors. You know.
And this is what
I thought of showing them. I haven't shown them anything, but I thought of showing them this, saying, "This is what can happen.
Oh.
Look." But I think it would scare them too much now.
So the White Dawn. Do we want to say anything about the White Dawn? Did you see that one, Jeff?
I never saw that one.
I
never saw
1974.
1974. The White Dawn is the one where it's like a Melville. It's like a Herman Melville type story. It isn't, but it feels like it. And these whalers are shipwrecked on an ice floe, on ice. I mean, I don't know where they are.
It's Warren, it's Timothy Bottoms and
Lou Gossett.
Lou Gossett. Yeah.
And they end up rescued by these Inuits or Aleuts or Inuits, Inuit tribe, family, and they're taken in and they're helped by these people and kept alive. And it's filled with documentary things. I mean, the people are there are all from there. Yeah. It's their place, and they know all the techniques for things they really do in the movie, such as catch and slaughter a walrus.
A walrus, yeah.
And living in real igloos that they built for the movie. I remember Michael Chapman talking about what an igloo is a wonderful place to shoot at first, because it's like it's a silk. The whole igloo is a wonderful silk. It glows. But then as your fire continues, eventually you're in just a kind of brown, you're in like an oven.
Yeah.
And it loses some of the luminous quality that it has at the beginning. So then you have to ask your cast to build you a new igloo. This is a miniature ladder.
Yeah. Oh,
close to red. That's just 2 inches away from the camera.
But you get out there. Shut the fuck up. These guys are trying to escape.
What's wrong with you, you goddamn snitch?
God!
See Harvey Keitel in Fingers, movie called Fingers.
Yeah. Toback.
It's you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sweet guy.
Jim Brown.
Yeah.
Tisa Farrow.
That's she's in
Mia Farrow's sister. Yeah.
She's Dear Prudence, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a tricky shot. I remember setting this up.
Well, do you remember what happened here, Roman? I demonstrated to someone how to jump over, and I clipped that man's mouth, and he swallowed his false tooth.
Oh no!
And if he said he didn't speak English. He's saying what happened. He showed the false tooth. I said, I barely touched him. I clipped it. I know I clipped him. I'm sorry, but there's no way I knocked out his tooth. They said no. This was a fake tooth that he just had replaced, and he swallowed it. And so we had to get him a new tooth.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was trying to say, just graze your feet right over him. But
you might want to edit that out, right?
Yeah. No, it's all right. We bought it.
Yeah, that's all right. We paid for it.
We bought him in there too. We did. Were you there this day, Roman? Do you remember this?
Yes, I feel like it might have been one of the first days I was there, coming to get acquainted and meet people.
Because I remember being down where they're looking with all this blood. I feel like I was down there for quite a while. I don't remember exactly the physical setup of the space. But
I suppose you'd call that a draw.
This was just on the edge of the town of Görlitz. And this man, we found this location, which is like a farm, but it's a farm right outside the place. So we could golf cart to it from the middle of Görlitz. And we picked this spot, and the hole that they're coming up out of the ground, we had to dig a big enough hole to get the whole group down there. And this man, from pre-production, when we started shooting, this was the last thing we shot. This man who lived there was digging that hole through rock in that place for 2.5 months. He was digging We got there. He made the hole big enough.
It was the last thing you shot?
Yeah, it was the last thing we shot.
Did Harvey just slap Tony for real? And how many times did he do it?
25, maybe? He slapped him every take.
But he slapped him.
He slapped him every take.
That's
Something,
funny.
yeah.
It's been 3 films with Harvey.
Yes, Harvey was in Moonrise Kingdom. He was in Grand Budapest, and then Harvey's he's in Isle of Dogs.
Isle of Dogs, yeah.
Isle of Dogs.
Yeah.
In fact, I think Harvey and I recorded his part right here in the room where we're sitting right now. He played a dog called Gondo.
Yeah.
Who is
so beautiful the way he breaks into the howls.
Yes, he did howls. He did something actually kind of amazing during that scene. I saw him do, I mean, it's not totally relevant to what we're talking about, but he did do this thing in this one scene he was playing in that movie where he left the scene that was written and just talked to himself for a moment, but in the character, but he was leading up to something, and he whispered, I heard a whispered conversation with him that I think was even a sense memory. Like, I think he was pulling it into something from his own past, and it was really, and then I tried to think, can I animate his sense memory into this? But in fact, it didn't matter either way, because where it took him was so striking and great, even though it's, playing a puppet. Jeff was one of these puppets too.
The rest of my family were executed by firing squad. Our village was burned to the ground, and those who managed to survive were forced to flee. I left because of the war.
I find this scene touching when I see it, when the way his recrimination, the way Rafe says, I'm so sorry about that. I shouldn't have spoken to you like that. Yeah, he takes it back, yeah. Very touching.
What a bloody idiot I am. Pathetic fool. Goddamn selfish bastard.
What a great actor Rafe is. I saw him on stage. What was that thing he did with Cherry Jones? I did something at not to toot my own horn again, but at the Booth Theater. And while we were in between matinees, he was coming and checking the theater out and just standing there and kind of checking the sound out or feeling the vibrations or something. We hadn't done this before we did this. And I said, hi, and da-da-da-da-da.
I've seen Rafe in several things. I've seen Jeff in several things, I'll say. I saw Jeff in Speed the Plow, in London with Kevin Spacey, and also in New York we saw Jeff do Prisoner of Second Avenue, Neil Simon, which was wonderful too. Oh no, it was in London, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was on the West End.
It's set in New York,
but
it's but no, I just felt transported to New York by it. But in fact, it was on the West End.
Yeah, Jeff, were you in Hurly Burly?
No.
But there's Hurly Burly.
I was never in that. No.
There was Hurly Burly with William Hurt and Chris Walken and Harvey
Keitel.
Yes.
Yeah. Cynthia Nixon, when she was very young. Sigourney Weaver.
Yes.
Mike Nichols directed that.
Mike Nichols directed it. That's right. And I think, but what I bet might make you think of Hurly Burly is The Big Chill. Is that possible that could connect a bit? I mean, they feel like someone could exit one of those and go into the other, or is that wrong?
In the sleepless mind of someone with a 3-month-old, all things are connected.
Mary Kay Place, with whom you just worked.
Mary Kay,
exactly. That's right.
Yes.
Yep.
Diane.
Yep.
Yeah, Larry Kasdan called me recently and said, hey, I have an idea, or there's an idea going around. Maybe we should do a catch-up sequel, is that what it would be called, to The Big Chill? Get everybody together. And then I think it's kind of faded away.
Has he written something?
Was it a real idea? Did he really?
It seemed like the seeds of a real idea, but I think it faded away.
Larry Kasdan was at that screening of Diane as well at UTA.
That's right. Right. And Meg, his wife.
Yeah.
Does Diane come from a real person?
Kind of, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Most of the people in the film do.
Diane is a great performance. Everybody else, they feel like they are the people they're playing, or something like that. I mean, it feels like there's such authenticity to the setting, the atmosphere, all the way through the film.
Thank you. Thanks.
And then also, what I love? Things like, I love that scene. I love when she goes out into the snowy
yeah,
woods and has this
that
moment.
was a stroke of luck.
They're amazing.
The snow. Yeah.
Amazing. But it made me think of Fred Wiseman, how throughout the film you do these shots of driving. They're quite French.
Yes.
They're European kind of driving shots. And the way they are repeated, the way this thing, it's a bit of, here's what life is like there. Everybody gets up, separates and gets in cars and drives off on these roads, and it's in this brisk New England world. But then in the form of the movie, they're more like these little, there's some musical term for what they are, And Fred uses those in his film. Fred does that in his films.
He does. He punctuates
separates sequences with these moments where nothing happens.
Yes.
There's just transitional moment, and you need them. Yeah.
Get me, Monsieur Giroux.
This one I remember. Hugo Guinness and I. So we were working on this script for quite some time, and I said to Hugo,
Take over.
This is often how Hugo and I work together. I say, and they go to a payphone, and there's a telephone there, and who does he call? And Hugo said, well, of course, the Society of the Cross Keys. And as soon as Hugo said it, then I sort of said, I know the next 15 shots of the movie.
Yes.
That. But Hugo's the one who said, well, obviously he calls the Society of the Cross Keys. There's Fisher Stevens.
Yeah.
We had Wally Wolodarski. We had Waris Alawali. These were all. I remember this kid did not want to do mouth to mouth. He said he had been told he wouldn't have to put his mouth on the man. And I said, no, you're going to have to.
I remember that.
Yeah, he refused that.
I was visiting the set that day. Yeah, I remember that.
And I said, did I say, Jeff, will you please explain to him how actors just have to do? Sometimes you just do a thing you would never do in real life, but you have to do do it.
It's Balaban.
Did I? I don't think I ever.
You might not have weighed in.
Maybe.
Yeah, I wanted to stay out of it.
The Ritz Imperial, Hotel Imperial. That's another European film.
Hotel Imperial.
Moritz Stiller.
Madam D dead. Boy with apple stolen by us. Dimitri and Joplin, ruthless, cold-blooded savages. Gustav H. at large. What else?
Look at that location.
Yeah, all these not far away. We do have some interesting footage because each of these haystacks was designed so that a sort of stagehand could stay inside it, so that if we needed to move them to camera.
Right.
So I remember while we were shooting this, we were talking walkie-talkies to people inside the haystacks, and then the haystacks just moved by themselves back and forth to line up the shot.
That's great.
Tomorrow at the observatory on the summit. Tell no one.
Hey, we have.
Was there behind the scenes, like in Life Aquatic? We had the Maisel, Mr. Dr. Maisel there. Was there There was a bunch of behind the scenes. I would like to see those haystacks moving around like that. Wasn't there shooting all the time?
I think we had Martin Scali, who was my assistant and directs films himself, and has done lots of on-set photography and video things and stuff like that for us. And I think Martin shot lots of material on this. Also, the perfume, by the way, comes from our friend Robin. Robin wears a strong.
Something's a symbolic gesture. How much?
Oh, he has a scent.
He has a wonderful scent that he sprays on. He two big puffs into the air, and then he walks through it. This one we had to have a couple of different cars, and we had to build a train to do this shot. It's quite a little thing. But I remember I remember saying to Rafe, when I ask you to do something like this, this thing, do you like to do this? Or is this something where you say, I would like to be able to play my character and not have to do these little things? But he said, I love it. Which is nice to hear. That is a secret door in this real library.
Oh.
Yeah. That Adrian just came out of.
Yeah. And Adrian's dressing gown is like Lermontov in the red shoes.
He's Lermontov, and that's why he's wearing red shoes.
Okay.
And then this is a fake Sheila that will swing up. Well, that's Michael Taylor's wonderful picture there. And then this is a Sheila we made. Rich Pellegrino, I remember, is the name of the guy who we'd seen do some pictures in San Francisco. These people who have done this art exhibition, Bad Dads, they call it. Bad Dads. Bad Dads. It's an art exhibition they sometimes do that has people do drawings from my movies. And this artist we found from the exhibition of people doing pictures from my other movies, and we said, well, let's hire him. We've now used artists from this. It's fan art, is what it is.
Yeah.
But they've got great painters and illustrators and stuff, and so we've often pillaged that group for different work.
Yes, I suppose you're right. Of course. You sent me, of course, that picture from Life Aquatic from the Explorers Club of my character, which I still have prominently framed and on display in my house.
Yes, and that one is also, well, as you know, it has quite a lot of depth behind it, like shipbuilding yard behind it, and that is inspired by another picture in the National Portrait Gallery, not by Michael Taylor, but the same kind of school of English portraiture, maybe.
She admires you as well, Mr. Gustav.
Does she?
Very much.
That's a good sign, It means she gets it. That's important.
What was the origin of the birthmark of Mexico on her face?
She's somebody who's gone through life with something that sort of separates her, and he's somebody who's drawn to it in a way. I mean, drawn to the person that's formed by something like that. Because I feel like something like that, sometimes it becomes a big part of your identity. It's how you're introduced in every time you walk in a room. They're going to see a birthmark the shape of Mexico. But in our case, there's a whimsical aspect to it because it literally is a map of Mexico.
Yes, it is.
Look how she does this. Isn't this good? Comic. Look at that.
Yeah.
It's filled up and justified and naturalistic, but, the effect, the style is so, funny like that.
Yeah, she's quite sure.
A radio telegram was delivered and signed for by the girl at 4 a.m. The envelope was...
Yeah, this is an actor, Neil Huff, who was in Moonrise Kingdom, and he's a good New York actor. I mean, I've seen him on stage here, too. He's very good.
Pack your things. Stop. Be ready to leave at moment's notice. Stop. Hide out as vicinity of Gabelmeister's Tea. Stop. Destroy this message. All my love. Full stop.
Where's the basket?
Edward's fun to have dinner with, isn't he?
Yeah.
He knows so much about so many things.
Yeah. Oh, and yes, yeah. That was just the assistant location manager. Here we have Lucas, along with Willem, we have Lucas Hedges, who's now been in lots of movies.
He's a big star now.
Now Lucas is a star. He played a part in Moonrise Kingdom.
Yeah.
And he came here and did a little sort of cameo.
Lady Bird,
yeah. Manchester by the Sea,
and then he's in the new Honey
Boy. He's very good.
He's
at Honey
excellent
Boy.
in Honey Boy.
I loved Honey Boy.
Yeah.
Lucas, I never realized until this moment that was Lucas, and I enjoyed him in Manchester by the Sea. Oh, I didn't know that he was in this movie at this point. How about that?
Yeah, he's only in there for a second.
Amazing.
Toward our high-altitude rendezvous.
How many movies did you make with Altman, Jeff?
I think like 4.
In Beyond Therapy?
4, finally. Yeah. Beyond Therapy, I had a part in The Player.
Right.
Then there was Nashville and California Split.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And then with Alan Rudolph, I had a little thing in Remember My Name.
Yeah.
Movie that Alan Rudolph did.
Yeah.
His protege. Yeah. Yeah, The Dentist. Well, I remember The Secret of
Lives of Dentists. Yeah.
Lives of Dentists, yeah.
I liked one, The Moderns.
Yeah.
Kevin J. O'Connor,
yes.
who was also in not Peggy Sue Got Married. Yes, Peggy Sue Got Married.
Yeah.
He plays a sort of Aidan Quinn type part.
Yeah.
In I wanted to say Reckless, but it's Peggy Sue Got Married, and he's in There Will Be Blood.
Yes, and he certainly is, and he's in The Master, but he's also in that Robert Frank film that he made with Rudy Wurlitzer about the guitar, Candy Mountain.
Candy Mountain, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Candy Mountain.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Wes, I'm curious because I was part of these shots, but there's so many miniatures that were done after the fact. You want to describe how that worked a little bit and where you did those and how it was done?
Yes. Well, our sort of partner on the film was Studio Babelsberg in Potsdam, outside of Berlin. But I never went to shoot anything there. Roman, you never went to, we didn't shoot anything there.
I never went there.
Everything there was miniature.
But all these shots like these, I remember these pieces we shot and then jumping over, and then it was fun to see it all come together integrated with the miniatures and so on.
Yes, we shot all these full scale shots, and then the whole the everything else. I mean, we built miniature landscapes like what you're looking at there. It's all misty like that, but there actually is a miniature that was built, and these are based on reference of real locations, a bit modified, but they're miniatures. But this, on the other hand, is across the street from the hotel.
Right outside the hotel.
Yes, and we just built a wall and closed in the pathways there.
Are you Monsieur Gustave of the Grand Budapest Hotel in Nebelspad?
Uh-huh.
Put this on and sing.
All those extras had their heads shaved in that distinctive monk thing where the top of your head is shaved and then it's this border of hair. And I remember being on the set. Someone asked you, do you want the hoods up or down? Let's have them up.
No, after the shaving?
Yeah, and I can't imagine all those guys would shave their head to get this part. They must
but I'm sure I didn't know their heads had been shaved. I bet that's a thing where, like, someone said, just so you know, all the heads have been shaved. They're all ready to have their hoods down. And I probably would have said,
displayed them.
I would have said, well, we needed to shave the heads, whether we took the hoods off.
Yeah.
I mean, Visconti. So
I was just going to say Visconti.
I remember when we shot this, Mathieu Amalric, an actor who we love. And so we shot Rafe and Tony's side first.
Yeah.
And then we shot Mathieu. And Mathieu was very good. And after we finished, but I thought Rafe had been very good. And so then we finished, and then Rafe said, well, if I'd known he was going to, Rafe essentially said, if I'd known he was going to do it that well, then now I feel I need to do my part over again. And I was like, no, Rafe, you did a good one already. You trust me. Don't just don't get distracted. I know Mathieu did a good one, but yours was already good.
That's funny.
Oh, Mathieu's great.
I love Mathieu too. Did you ever see him in that Guy Madden movie, The Forbidden Room?
Sure.
I never
Isn't
saw
he in
that.
Yeah.
I never saw that one.
Yeah. He started as a director. It was Arnaud Desplechin who convinced him to become an actor.
And wasn't he an assistant director on an Arnaud?
La Sentinelle.
La Sentinelle, yes.
Yeah. And he's in the film briefly.
Yeah.
Or maybe La Vie d'Amour. I can't remember. But...
And then he's in Ma Vie Sexuelle.
Comment je me suis disputé.
Yes.
Yeah. My sex life.
And the James Bond movie.
Yep.
Now the James Bond movie. Yes. I think
Majesty's Secret Service.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
No. The one. No.
Not the St. Francis. This is done with miniatures. I remember somebody I remember saying, yes, that ski chase. What was that? I remember somebody's reaction on the screen. I know, it's just a ski chase. But, yes, there's these animated skiers, but they're so little you can barely. And then this is all done with miniatures, which I think you can see.
Yes.
Which I hope is a good thing in a way, but I certainly don't know how I would have done it in real life.
Wow. It's got real beauty to it. It's just
this we built quite a big miniature bobsled run for this.
Luge, is that called luge?
Yeah, luging. Yes, it's luging.
Is that what luge is?
That would have been a luge. I think that's more of a luge than a bobsled.
I don't know.
Prada made Willem's shoes and coat for us.
Oh,
they did. Great. They're very good with leathers. And they made all the little pockets for his flask and his knives and things.
Really? I was going to say I like those particularly.
Yeah.
You ever meet the Madame Prada, you know?
Yes, we know her, Miuccia Prada. She's great. But Roman and I have done a number of things we've done some things where we worked with Prada and collaborated. And Juman and I also did a museum exhibition.
That's right.
In Milan. And she's quite great. She's done a thing where she's essentially bought Jean-Luc Godard's apartment and is reconstructing it in a room.
What apartment?
She's bought the contents of an office of his workspace and from him, and has made a museum installation of it in Milan.
What do you think?
I don't know.
Hey, not to drop names, but I was in a conversation with her, and somebody asked her what her favorite movie about fashion was. You know what she said? What do you think she said?
Let's think for one second.
Her favorite fashion movie.
Her favorite film about fashion.
Can I have a hint? Is it pre-war or post-war?
Post-war.
Okay.
Post-war. American?
No.
Was it a Fellini?
No.
Was it French? La Belle de
It's
Jour.
Godard.
It's Godard.
Nope.
Italian film?
It's not Italian, no.
It's French.
It's not French.
It's German.
It's German.
Oh, Fassbender.
Something
The Bitter
about
Tears of Petra von Kant.
Exactly right. Bitter Tears of Petra.
Yes.
Which I think is German for the deer. Isn't that the German? Doesn't that mean deer?
Yeah.
I think so. I may be wrong. Cut this out.
A very fine tooth comb at the sense.
That's a very good movie. That's a very strange Fassbender movie.
Yes, it is.
All filmed in the one apartment, right? The two rooms of that basement is space. Is that right?
Yeah, it's been a long time. Since I've seen the Criterion edition.
Yeah.
Need more space.
What about, I always am fighting for this movie, Capricorn 1. I love Capricorn 1.
Yeah.
No one wants to appreciate this film. Peter Hyams, it's certainly the best of Peter Hyams' work. Elliot Gould. I mean, look at the cast. We have James Brolin.
Right.
O.J. Simpson. Sam Waterston.
Right.
Hal Holbrook.
Right.
Elliot Gould. Karen Black. Brenda Vaccaro, Telly Savalas.
Yeah, together in one movie.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And
Capricorn, what is it, a space movie? They're astronauts?
They're astronauts, all right.
Conspiracy movie,
It's a paranoia, 70s paranoia movie.
Right, Capricorn 1.
It's about them having to fake the Mars landing, and then where that goes, and where it goes is very interesting, and involves Telly Savalas and Elliot Gould.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the documentary about Stanley Kubrick and about Room
237,
where where there's the whole idea that he was the one who staged the
Moonlight. I know.
Yeah.
Oh.
Good evening.
There's Owen is playing Monsieur Chuck.
Beg your pardon.
Character.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Owen, before this scene was going over, he was very sweet. He was going over his lines with me. He said, I could do it this way or this way. What do you think? I think, as I remember, he was doing something like that. So,
Owen is great.
6.
Hold it. 6.
Now the design for the kind of double Z,
somewhere in between a swastika and an SS.
Yeah.
We called them. I don't know if this is in the movie. That we called them the zigzags.
Yes,
they were, but I don't know if it really stayed in the thing. But yeah, if you look at my notebooks, then I was trying thousands of different versions of how to do the ZZ.
Pastry girl with a package under her arm in the last minute and a half.
And Mendel's. This boy, Gabriel Rush, he was in Moonrise Kingdom also. He played a character in that one. Here, we brought him over to Germany for a day's work.
Stone wall, understood?
I love Moonrise Kingdom. Jeez, I find that so sweet and romantic.
Thank you. Very kind of you.
Well,
here's where we had to do a cheated. We had to do a fake boy with a fake painting to get the apple in the right place. You see, that I will say was some good advanced thinking.
Yeah.
I said, let's just see how we're gonna rip this open, and then we say, you know what, we're gonna need a different painting to get
size.
this. Like, I feel like that's something I would not have done on my first film. It took about 15 years for me to have a thought like that.
If there had been a painting in Bottle Rocket.
That bit might be trying to imitate De Palma. That walk down the corridor there. Yeah. We were talking earlier about Brian De Palma.
Yeah.
Noah Baumbach and Jake
Paltrow.
They did the very good.
Yeah, the documentary?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's great.
Yeah. I liked it. Yeah, it's great.
Where's Boy with Apple? None of you got apples, man. I'm gonna blast your candy ass once and for all right now.
I love all the colors, of course, in this hotel, which are duplicated in the robes that you sent us all after the production, which I still wear daily. That pink and lavender robe with a Grand Budapest Hotel monogram on the left breast. I wear it every day. It's my favorite robe.
Who's shooting who?
Here we do a big spin around.
I've got him cornered.
We go all the way over here.
From Texas, he's responsible for the killing of Deputy Kovacs, Serge X, and his club for his sister plus his own mother.
Have to mention Bob Yeoman, who's got the precision to nail these spin arounds and stops and switch pans and stuff.
I mean, he has an amazing way of setting up his body for a shot like this. He has to kind of get positioned for somewhere 2/3 of the way through the shot.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's getting to neutral, then going back around the other way. But I don't know anybody can do those quite like Bob. Bob is a great operator. Along with being a great cinematographer, he's a great operator.
Most good DPs are, huh?
Some don't do it. You know, some it's not their thing.
Yeah.
Something's on the bus.
Agatha! Are you all right?
I think so.
People who go to Vienna are excited to discover that bakery that inspired
Demel.
Mendel's.
Oh, Demels,
yeah. You know who?
Got many photos like, I'm at Demel's. And they think of the film and.
Well, Roman. It was the person who loved Demels was Billy Wilder. That's what I always heard. That Billy Wilder's favorite because Billy Wilder's Viennese.
Yeah.
And that was his thing. The instant he would go back to Vienna, that was his first stop.
Oh, I love the little box of Auto Chocolat that the painted boxes. No, the Demels boxes.
The Demels boxes. Yes.
Yeah.
Institution.
That's great.
The Grand Budapest Hotel. He anointed me his successor. And as the war continued, I served my adopted country from the narrow desk still found against the wall in the next room. He was the same as his disciples. Insecure, vain, superficial, blonde, needy. In the end, he was even rich. He did not succeed, however, in growing old.
Yes, this is Saxony Schweiz here. Which is actually quite scary to walk around because you're just on these little catwalks up at the tops of these rocks. And it was snowy and slippery. But it's really quite a beautiful place.
On the 21st day of the occupation, the morning
the music is by we have Alexandre Desplat who made the music for this. We had worked together before this on both on Moonrise Kingdom and Fantastic Mr. Fox, and it's we had these couple of particular ingredients we hadn't used before. We used the balalaika. We actually had to assemble the balalaika.
A balalaika orchestra.
Well, we had an orchestra from Moscow,
right?
And then we had two other troops, one French and one German, I think, smaller groups to get enough of them because they don't usually play in such a large group. And we had a great big assembly of them. And then we also had cymbalom, and we had one Hungarian cymbalom player, and then we had another English cymbalom player who did different things. In fact, at one point, there's a cymbalom sort of solo in the in that ski chase. There's one point where it's and we had him play it. We recorded it 5 times, and each time it had its own kind of thing because it was just a improvised part. And then we ended up just using all 5 of them at once, and that was the best performance. Was playing everything he did all at once.
Documents, please.
With pleasure.
You know, one thing that was great was we sometimes scouted by train. We got an engine, and we went on into areas because we were looking for places where we'd shoot shots from the train.
Yeah.
But we also just scouted on these trains because, you know, the trains go places the roads don't go. And often when you're on a train, you're going someplace that's a bit older, that might be a bit forgotten. And I remember we went scouting in this train engine, and we had to bring a chainsaw because it snowed heavily and there were branches and things. And sometimes we had to stop the train. Our location manager, Klaus, had to get out and chainsaw the tracks. And then we went by one place and we saw somehow, I don't know how we knew this. We stopped on the train and we got out and went into this man's little farm shop that was in his house. We bought honey and some other handicrafts and things.
He was one of them. What more is there to say?
What happened in the end?
In the end, they shot him.
Murray and Jude, I loved Murray and Jude. They're both such great, interesting actors, and they just brought a lot of feeling to this.
After dinner, we went to collect the keys to our rooms, and Monsieur Jean had abandoned his post.
I expect he's forgotten all about us.
In recent years, of course, such properties and holdings as the Grand Budapest had, with very few exceptions, become common property.
When we were scouting different locations, we started to see all these. We were visiting all these old hotels, and we kept seeing when they had when had this one been ruined.
Yeah,
and you would see one. Oh, I could see something happen in the 80s and so on. But for many of them, what we saw was late 50s. We saw communist. And it wasn't in the script. We only when we went to these locations, we added the communist element to the movie. It all came from traveling.
Oh, that's amazing!
And around it. And then we started to revise the script and do it. But
no, I don't think so.
It was so built into the place. It was actually, I mean, I think Juman, my wife Juman, she says it's all her idea, which I think it might have been, but she's very certain it was all her idea.
I think we'll have to do some editing there to make sure that it is all her idea.
We don't have to edit it. She'll make sure we know.
To be frank, I think his world had vanished.
You're tearing down the Intercontinental in Vienna.
Which one is the Intercontinental?
That's like one of the early 60s. You know, great hotel.
We stay the Imperial in Vienna, which I love. Mr. Mo, there's Larry Pine's character is named for Michael Mosier, who is the front of house, or kind of like the head concierge, but really called front of house of the Imperial, and he advised us about a lot of things and showed me how the place worked. At one point, he just took me back through every single bit of the hotel and showed me how it's all done. And it was very, really fascinating, the methods and the care that they take. This is actually the last shot we filmed.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, the other one was the last thing we did before Rafe and Tony left. Petropolis. He ended up in South America.
Yeah.
I had seen in photographs Stefan Zweig's house in Salzburg, but it's not a museum or anything like that.
Yeah.
And we had asked, how can we see it? And it was arranged for us by the movie Roman. Wasn't it sort of like the film commission person of
right?
And she arranged it, and these two brothers live there. They're both single, right?
Yeah, they seemed like two bachelors, and the home had all these beautiful details and candles and art books, and seemed like backgammon sets, you know.
And had belonged to their father. And I mean, I would say I think they're probably How old do you think, Roman?
Early 70s.
Early 70s, I think. And the place is preserved in a way that's surprising. Like they like the old stuff. They like the same things that we would like about it. And it's an amazing. I mean, it's a really magical house cut into the side of a cliff. It's built into rock that rises up above Salzburg. So one side of the house has no windows, and if you hit the wall, you can feel. Oh, I see. This wall is 150 meters thick. It's just a giant. It's just a mountain. Polly Platt, Kumar Pallana, and Richard Zanuck, all three died at the time.
How old was Kumar?
Kumar was born, I think, in 1919.
Wow.
So he was nearing 100.
Getting close to 100.
Yes. Yeah. Polly was quite young, and so was Dick Zanuck.
Yeah.
But Polly and Dick are both producers. Polly Platt was Peter Bogdanovich's wife, and she designed
Last Picture Show,
Paper Moon, Bad News Bears, and she was also quite kind of something like a producer on some of these films, was an advisor and story advisor, and really valuable. And she worked for Jim Brooks for years and years. And Polly's the one who Kit Carson showed our short film Bottle Rocket to, and Polly's the one who brought it to Jim Brooks, and that's how we got the chance to make this movie here that we just saw.
Yeah.
And Dick Zanuck, he was great. And Dick was friends with Robin, who inspires Rafe's character in this one. And he was a great producer.
Yep.
Stefan. He was a waiter.
Kunichi Nomura, what role did he play?
Kun plays one of the guests of the hotel at the beginning, who don't speak to each other.
God. And Lisa Kreutzer is one of the women, one of the older women. She was in The American Friend.
Oh, is that right?
She plays Bruno Gantz's wife.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think she's in Alice in the Cities as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I think I didn't know who I had.
Well, we shot in London. I see this. London.
In London, we shot that shot of Saoirse where there's lights spinning around her head. Do you remember that?
Oh, the one like from what's that? The French movie.
You mean L'Enfer?
L'Enfer.
Yeah, it's like a thing from that. Yeah. And then we shot a couple of little other, like a few tiny things. A tiny reshoot.
L'Enfer, what a crazy project. The documentary about the making of it is just wild.
There aren't so many. I mean,
it's really fascinating.
Most movies are finished one way or another.
Yeah.
It's always interesting when you find out how a movie ended up actually getting abandoned.
Right.
That was being shot.
Yeah.
That was well into being shot.
And then Chabrol took the script and made his own film.
Which is with Emmanuel Béard.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Francois Cluzet.
Cluzet, yes. See, here you can see, I think, Hotel Bursa. This is our whole gang from who all work there.
Mm. Oh, there you go.
He's going to dance for us now.
You know about the animatics, the whole. Will that ever see the light of day? That was done, with the whole movie in this way, and West did all the voices. Do you know about that, Ken?
Well, Jeff, I think they're going to put a little bit of it on this Blu-ray. Thank you, Kent, and thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Roman. That was
it was fun.
Yeah,
for including us.
It's delightful. Thank you so much, everybody. Yeah.
I think we managed to milk this one out to
I think so.
Many hours. Do we want to have any closing remarks? Well, I guess we'll just end with the homage to those three people: Kumar, our old friend, Polly Platt, and Dick Zanuck.
Ending with an homage to Kumar is a really nice.
Yeah, that's good.
There in your very first film.
And now here in my last.
Yeah.